Hi, welcome to On This Day in Tudor History with me, Claire Ridgway, author of On This Day in Tudor History. Now, today, where am I taking you? Well, I'm taking you to the reign of King Henry VIII. For on this day in Tudor history, the 3rd of February 1537, Thomas Fitzgerald, 10th Earl of Kildare, known as Silken Thomas, his 5 uncles and Sir John Burnell were executed at Tyburn in London. Thomas was hanged and beheaded, but his uncles and Burnell were hanged, drawn and quartered, the proper traitor's death. But what led these men to their rather sticky ends? Why on earth did they end this way? Well, Thomas's father, Gerald Fitzgerald, 9th Earl of Kildare and Lord Deputy of Ireland, had been called to the royal court in London in 1534. According to the Annals of Ulster, the summons was due to accusations made by foreigners of Ireland regarding excess of his illegality and his injustice on them. So complaints about him and what he was doing in Ireland. The Annals goes on to suggest that they planned to put him in the Tower of London in anticipation of his ruin. Kildare answered the summons, going over to London and leaving his 21-year-old son Thomas in charge of things in Ireland as vice deputy. Kildare was indeed imprisoned in the Tower when he got there, and he died while he was in prison in the Tower in September 1534. While his father was in London, imprisoned in the Tower of London, Thomas, known as Silken Thomas, as I said, but after the silk fringes that he and his men wore on their jackets, heard a rumour that his father had actually been executed. Thomas publicly renounced his allegiance to King Henry VIII, who was Lord of Ireland, so his lord and his king, at St Mary's Abbey in Dublin in June 1534, and asserted his allegiance to the Pope instead. Not a sensible move. He then launched a rebellion against King Henry VIII, and chronicler Edward Hall records that he took all the king's ordinance and sent ambassadors to the emperor to have entreated him to take part with him. Also, he slew the Bishop of Dublin and burnt and robbed all such as would not obey him. So things got worse. Now, it's not known who exactly murdered Archbishop John Allen of Dublin, but Thomas certainly got the blame. Unfortunately for Silken Thomas, an English army under the command of the newly appointed Lord Deputy of Ireland, Sir William Skeffington, recaptured Dublin, and then in March 1535 attacked Silken Thomas and his forces, who'd holed up at Maynooth Castle. In the summer of 1535, after realising that no reinforcements from Spain or the Empire would be sent to help him, Silken Thomas surrendered to the English forces, who were led by Lord Leonard Grey, who actually guaranteed his safety if he surrendered. Silken Thomas was escorted to London, where he was imprisoned in the Tower of London. While a prisoner there, he wrote a letter to his friend O'Brien asking for money for food and clothes, writing, "I never had any money since I came into prison, but a noble. Nor I have had neither hosen, doublet, nor shoes, nor shirt, but one nor any other garment, but a single frieze gown for a velvet furred with a budge. And so I have gone woolward," which means shirtless, "and barefoot, and bare-legged divers times, when it hath not been very warm. And so I should have done still, but that poor prisoners of their gentleness have sometimes given me old hosen and shoes and shirts." So he was complaining about not having these things, being cold, not being well looked after while he was in the Tower. Worse was to come though. Despite the promise of safety and the hope of mercy that he'd been given when he surrendered, Silken Thomas and his 5 uncles who'd been implicated in the rebellion, and of course Burnell, were executed as traitors on this day in Tudor history, the 3rd of February 1537. The Chronicle of the Grey Friars records, also the 3rd day of February, the Lord Garrard with his 5 uncles, that's Fitzgerald, with his 5 uncles of Ireland. These were their names: Thomas Lord Fitzgarrard, Sir James Fitzgarrard, Sir John Fitzgarrard, Sir Richard Fitzgarrard, Lord of St John's in Ireland, Sir Oliver Fitzgarrard and Sir Walter Fitzgarrard, were drawn from the Tower unto Tyburn, and there all hanged and headed and quartered, save the Lord Thomas, for he was but hanged and headed, and his body buried at the Crossfriars in the choir, and the quarters with their heads set up about the city. Thomas's family lands were confiscated. In 1541, Parliament declared King Henry VIII King of Ireland, stating that Ireland was now knit forever to the imperial crown of the realm of England. Thank you, Madge, for your cameo and for having a scratch there. King Henry was determined to completely dominate Ireland. Also on this day in Tudor history, the 3rd of February 1587, the Privy Council met in William Cecil Lord Burleigh's chambers at Greenwich and agreed to send Mary Queen of Scots' signed death warrant to Fotheringay Castle. Spoilers, she gets executed. You can find out more about that in last year's video and also my video from the 1st of February, so I'll give you links to those. Thank you for joining me. You can subscribe round about there with that big subscribe button. You can hit the bell to be notified as these videos go live, and you can, of course, give me a like and leave a comment as well. Thank you for joining me. Bye-bye.